I think you guys saw the big military parade that happened in China yesterday and it's all over the news right now. There's one thing that caught my attention is that the mainstream Western media, just like this BBC, whether intentionally or not, they omitted the name and the purpose of this event. They focus a lot on the weapons and the world leaders who attended this event, and then they draw the conclusion that China is a threat. So let me ask you, what's the name of this event? What's it called? The full name is the Conference to Commemorate the 80th Anniversary of the Victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese Aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. And where do you draw the conclusion that China is a threat? Threat what? Like, we were literally allies during the World War II and we defeated the enemy of humanity together. And it should be a happy day to celebrate, and we just prevent such tragedy happen to us again. China alone suffered 35 million casualties, which is about 1/3 of the global losses during World War II. It should be the Japanese and the fascists that feel threatened. What are you feeling threatened about? Are you Japanese? Or are you fascist? Or is just someone want you to believe you are threatened so they can increase their defense budget? I don't know what you guys feeling about this parade, but here's my personal opinion. This parade reminds me of a very old saying from Sun Tzu in China, who is the author of Art of War and is considered as the god of the warfare. And he said, those who are truly skillful at the war usually don't have flashy victories. The best general wins the war through strategy and deterrence. Sometimes they even prevent the war before it begins. And yesterday, there was a word I hear from the parade that resonates with me so much. It's called 以武止戈. It means stop the war with strength, using deterrence to prevent confliction. It's been part of the Chinese philosophy for a very long time. The weapons are for self-defense, not aggression. And it's the same spirit behind the Chinese Kung Fu, which is obsessed by many of you guys. Do you know one of the most important Kung Fu branch in China called Shaolin, which is practiced by a whole bunch of monks in the temple? Those monks practice Kung Fu not for killing, but for self-defense and helping others during the chaotic time. And this tradition has been lasting over 1,000 years. That's the true spirit of the Chinese mindset, which is mercy and peace. And to those who are saying Chinese military has no real combat experience, so they're paper tigers, let me ask you this. Do you think having combat experience is something to be proud of? Do you think bombing hospitals, bombing schools, killing civilians, and looting other countries' ancient treasures is something to be proud of? In the past 70 years, the main role of Chinese military was to saving lives and helping with the reconstruction whenever a natural disaster like earthquake, typhoon, flood, and wildfire happens. And whenever a disaster strikes, people feel so safe when PLA showed up. We call them People's Sons Army. So basically we're taking them as families. When hurricanes and wildfire happen in your country, did your soldiers show up to help at all? Or they were loaded to prevent you raiding the resources from the rich? At the end of the day, this is not about glorifying the war. This is about remembering the history, honor the sacrifice, comfort the souls that pass away in the war, and most importantly, prevent humanity make the same mistake again. Love and peace to you all.
Ni hao, привет. I feel it's very appropriate. I think I'm going to add Mandarin and Russian to my Duolingo. I'm doing German at the moment, but I think I need to add Mandarin and Russian because I saw the Chinese military parade and keep in mind I also saw Donald Trump's military parade on his birthday. Whoa. Night and day difference. Night and day difference. Did you guys see it? If you didn't see it, just look up TikTok search, just say Chinese military parade 2025. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. It's kind of like Apple versus Huawei. No comparison.
The very clear message China sent the rest of the world, particularly the US and the West, with this mega military parade, that there is a new world order and that is backed by a serious high-tech military that they've been investing a huge amount in. So in front of special guests, Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, we saw lasers on display, for example. These are air defense lasers, which, if they work, we don't know if they do because they haven't been tested in combat, but if they do work, they can be far more effective than conventional systems because you don't have to load them with expensive missiles and bullets. State media said they can even be fired from warships, for example, so from anywhere. We don't have to get the missiles to the systems, you can just literally fire off the lasers. If they also contain microwave systems, which they could, they can take out entire swarms of drones in one go. They don't have to pick them out one at a time. So a highly effective system they had on display. We don't even know what they didn't display to the world because they don't want the world to know about it. But a very clear message coming from China.
Why is China holding a massive parade right now on September 3rd? Well, look at the world the past few years. COVID just ended. Supply chains got messy. The Russian-Ukraine war still drags on. The Middle East is on fire, and in Asia, the Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, even North Korea are all high-risk zones. Everybody's talking about peace, but the military budget's shooting up. Germany doubled theirs. Japan is quietly rewriting its peace rules. Even South Korea is planning aircraft carriers. Sounds familiar? Because it looks a lot like the world before World War I. Back then, Europe looked stable. Trade booming, tech exploding, leaders even related by blood. Nobody thought war was possible, but underneath the surface, debt was piling up, arms racing like crazy, and once the system couldn't hold anymore, boom, World War I. Now, fast forward to today, the US owns over $37 trillion, spending a quarter of its income just on interest. Europe and Japan are also drowning in debts. History shows that when countries can't pay the bills, they hit the reset button, and war, whether it's trade wars, tech wars, or even real wars, is the fastest way to reset. So this parade, it's not just for show. It's China sending a clear message that we're strong enough to protect our red lines. War might break out in Europe or the Middle East, but in Asia, not here. Because history doesn't repeat, but the pattern, always the same.
Ever since the victory parade we all saw 2 days ago, celebrating the victory over Japan by China 80 years ago, the Western media and some of their governments have been extremely busy. Busy analyzing if that's the end of their hegemony. Busy analyzing if these weapons, these new technological weapons, are actually real. And if they are real, they say, they've not been tested. In other words, they haven't been used to slaughter tens of thousands of millions of innocent men, women, and children. They haven't been used to flatten whole cities, whole countries. In other words, they haven't been tested. But yet, these are the same ones who have been telling us for years, for decades, that China is dangerous. That China is going to invade the world. That China is going to take over the world because they are dangerous. They are arming themselves to the teeth. And that's what we've heard for years, for decades, from the West. They forget, or have they forgotten, that China has always said, we're not interested in a hegemonic world. We're not interested in invading or regime change in other countries. That's not what we do. That's a Western thing. That's what they do. We don't do that. China has always said that our military is purely for self-defense and protecting our interests, whatever that may be. In other words, China will never start a war, but it will finish it. And that's the reason why China's military hasn't been tested, because it has never been used in an offensive war, just as China has always said. I'll tell you what though, the entire world should be glad that China has kept its promise.
Today, Beijing's Tiananmen Square hosted a powerful military parade marking 80 years since the end of a defining chapter in China's modern history. It wasn't about looking back in anger, it was about remembering the price of peace and showing how far this incredible nation has risen, from resistance to revitalization. Now, as a foreigner living here, I watched it live on TV and something really hit me. It isn't about the firepower, it's about transformation. Every piece of equipment on display was made right here in China. It's not showing off, it's a message. In just 80 years, China has gone from militant rifles to smart AI-powered battlefields. But what impressed me most wasn't the weapons, it was the thinking behind them. When the drone swarms flew overhead, it hit me once again. This is exactly how China develops. Not just single breakthroughs, but everybody working together in harmony. That's the real strength of China, holistic, strategic and deeply coordinated across technology, economy, diplomacy and defense. And when I saw world leaders standing together, it all made sense. This isn't just national pride, it's China safeguarding and shaping a new kind of global cooperation, built on digital tools and shared progress. Welcome to China, welcome to the future.
It has always been this way. This isn't the first time that the Western media try to shift focus when it comes to news coverage concerning China. And I am starting to understand that China isn't in competition with any country. They're always mentioning that they're just trying to be a better country. They're just trying to be better than yesterday. But every time they're seen as threats. How many times have we seen Chinese have fun with drones while other countries are using them as weapons to do what they do to other countries? I think understanding how China builds its power would be a major thing for us to understand when we analyze the military parade that happened, and it was in commemoration. And it's not bad to brag a little bit, because you have achieved so much, and I don't really find anything wrong with them showcasing what they have going on, because sometimes people try to downplay countries that are quiet and they fear the loudest. Maybe this was just part of them also showing you that we just don't want to go that way. This is the new civilization, the new world order that we are in. We know these things are available out there, but they are not just meant for harm. You can as well watch them as a spectacle and have fun, Who doesn't like that? Who wasn't happy to see? Did you see how uniformity worked? I really have to find those who did better commentaries. I had to start at the end because I'm late. I need to start with something that is recent, and then I will post those who had good and amazing feedbacks towards this parade. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your support. Goodbye for now.